What kind of emergencies are we talking about here?
Well, one of the things is we know that Florence has been having a lot of seizures since she's been on the ward, and some of them have been quite long. So you've been shown already how to give the buccal-midazolam into her cheek.
Oh, yeah.
If she has
Excuse me, yeah. We've been shown quite a lot of all the different medicines and what have you. Just taking a bit of time to get used to them, I think. So
don't worry, because we'll go through all that again.
Oh, okay.
That's good.
So one of the things on the plan will be to describe the kinds of seizures Holly has and the ones that would need treatment with the emergency medicine, the buccal-midazolam.
Right.
And then, that I think we've said after 5 minutes, if she was having a seizure for longer than 5 minutes, you'd give that medicine, but you would call an ambulance as well. I'm sure that's what we've said at the moment.
Yeah.
What do you mean, call an ambulance? This plan, surely that's to eradicate any emergencies.
Yeah, that's right. But I think we would still want an ambulance to be on the way when you've given the buccal-midazolam, because sometimes children, when they've had that dose, children can be very sleepy afterwards. And so I think our plan at the moment is that you'd give the buccal-midazolam, but you'd still call an ambulance.
Well, how would they know what to do? Like, obviously, like with her history, they're not going to have her kind of background, are they?
One of the most important things of a plan is to have the background as soon as you pick up the plan, you can see a brief description of your little girl, so that an ambulance man or the emergency doctor would straight away have some understanding of her condition.
Yeah.
So in there we would be saying Florence has a non-specific leukodystrophy. We know. I know.
Sorry, I know it's not your fault.
I know, and I'm very sorry that we haven't been able to find a more definite diagnosis for you than that at the moment. But that is as.
But
much
when you
as
say
I
at the
can say.
moment, in the future, I mean, how long are we looking?
Well, we still have some investigations, but we're waiting to come back, haven't we?
Tests, aren't we?
And it may be that there will be other investigations available to us in the future, but at the moment, as you know, that's been from the brain scan. We know that she has a kind of leukodystrophy, but we haven't been able to identify the exact one.
Okay.
And I know that's very difficult for you. It must be very hard not having a very clear understanding of your child's problem and what's going to happen in the future. But we would put that in the background, in the area for the background. We'd also put in there that Florence has epilepsy, which has been difficult to control.
Yeah.
And she's still having seizures every day, isn't she?
Yeah.
We put in there that she's having difficulty managing to swallow her saliva and secretions, and is therefore having gastrostomy feeds.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one when we get home.
You've managed very well to learn how to do that. And we'd also put in there that that because of those difficulties swallowing, she's having she's very chesty, isn't she? She's having difficulties with keeping her throat clear of secretions, and that puts her at risk of chest infections.
Yeah.
So I know she's already had one infection while she's been on the ward.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's very important that that's in the background, and we'd also put in there that you've got the suction machine at home, because the Sarah's.
That's right, that should have come yesterday.
Yes, yeah, and we've kind of, we've tested and tried and what have you, and I seem to be knowing what we're doing with that, so
Yes.
it should be okay, shouldn't it?
It should.
All right, so then we just, as I said, we need to put in the plan some details about the kinds of seizures Florence is having and the emergency medication. We also need to put in a plan to think about if she did get chesty at home,
Right.
because, as I've said, she is at risk of chest infection,
Okay.
and that it would be important that you knew what to do. We've already suggested that perhaps you might have some antibiotics in the home
Okay. Yeah.
to start at the first sign of a chest infection. She would be having a fever and she would be having a cough,
Right.
and the secretions that you're usually seeing, they might be green. So we would then want you to be calling your GP promptly,
Right. Okay.
starting antibiotics.
Yeah. Okay.
But if she didn't respond quite within 48 hours of the antibiotics, then we'd be expecting you to come back into hospital to have a more intensive treatment for chest infection.
And I mean, I don't know how long this would. I mean, how long is this all going to carry on for?
Well, the problem is that we don't really know whether Florence is going to carry on being as poorly as this, or whether her brain condition might even get worse over time.
But that's what I don't get. It's also so vague. It's like,
Well, they,
Yeah.
you know, they can only do what they can only do, can't they? So it's,
I know it must be very difficult.
it is.
well, at least something's happening. You know, we're getting as you say, a plan sorted. So, it's,
So I think we're going to say about the chest infections that we start the antibiotics promptly and bring her back into hospital if her chest wasn't responding to the antibiotics in 48 hours. But there is a risk that with a chest infection she could get very ill very quickly.
okay.
So if she was deteriorating very rapidly and becoming very distressed with her breathing,
Mm-hmm.
you would need to bring her into hospital, call 999 and bring her into hospital.
Okay. That's what we've got to do, isn't it?
Okay. I think with a baby as fragile as Florence is, there is a risk of her suddenly having breathing problems.
Well, why? Why suddenly?
Well, because of the secretions that she has, that she's having difficulty coping with. You've been using the suction
Yeah.
machine
Yeah.
to clear those, and so, but she could suddenly get into breathing difficulty.
Right. Well, and what would the actions? You know, what actions do we have to take with that?
Well, I think we need to make sure that you have had the training to clear the airway,
Right.
and some basic resuscitation training to make sure that you know how to open her airway and to start resuscitation mouth to mouth.
Poor little thing. Hasn't really had a great start in life, has she?
No.